right now forever.
They're scheduled to play in 2024.
Just because you get Arch Manning doesn't mean anything.
I
Okay.
didn't say anything. I'm just hopeful.
Yeah. Welcome back to
He's,
another episode of Real Talk. Jeff here. Brad, what's going on, dude?
what's up? I feeling pretty good. You know, a little pre-pod convo ran into the pod there for a second.
Yeah.
Those of you I just pointed out, I thought it was funny that we both had college stuff on. And
Yeah.
Jeff had to, throw a jab through the computer. My college is better than yours. And all I said was, yeah, right now. And then he started attacking Arch. I didn't even want to get into it, you guys. I just have to let you know I was passive aggressive this whole time.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm cocky heading into the season, but this is the most I
Are they
felt
ranked
like.
six?
Yeah, ranked 6 preseason. I think that's fair. I think it's fair. Could have been a little lower, could have been a little higher. Either way, I think probably somewhere between 4 to 8 would have been. I wouldn't have said a word.
I just think it's got to be frustrating because the rankings right now in college football matter a ton to your end of the season
They
ambitions
actually.
and goals.
So, if I'm not mistaken, the college football playoff rankings don't come out until like week 8. So really, these rankings mean nothing.
Literally nothing. That was
Yeah,
kind of the point I was getting at. They don't mean anything.
yeah, yeah. Um, couple things before we get into this pod. So last week we did the AFC West, arguably the best division in football in a lot of people's minds, and it went 2 hours and 17 minutes, by far the longest pod we ever did. And I got an overwhelming amount of praise. So many people reached out to me and said, that's the best pod you guys ever did. They loved it. They thought the content was great. So if you guys listen to that pod, thank you. I hope you're continuously digging these division breakdowns. That's why we do them. We love talking football. We love breaking down these teams. Obviously, we were a little harsh on the Chiefs last week, is what it is. What do you think about last week's pod, Brad?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Dan was a nice addition too. We can't underplay his value to that pod. He was a great piece coming in with this insider knowledge on the Raiders and his fandom. But when you have a division that's that strong, that captivating, I mean, sometimes the pod can make itself. I mean, talking about those teams is just so exciting, and it's just fun to listen to. It's fun to talk about. And, we're an NFL pod and we're now through 4 division breakdowns. We finished the entire AFC and that's what everyone's waiting for. We're predominantly the NFL. Most people, that's what they want to hear about, that's what they want to watch. And I loved it. It was kind of funny. Kept, a couple times looking at the clock. Geez, we are still going. But like it wasn't like we were forcing it. It was a really fun, just kind of spitting football. Like you said, we're going to get together once a week and talk sports. If you want to listen, we are grateful. And man, last week just had so much to talk about. It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think this division is going to be just as much fun. We're talking the NFC West today. We are going to take a week off next week. I will be out of town. It's just going to fit better for Brad and I if we wait a week. But we're going to do a double pod the following week. Probably, if I had to guess, north-south, and we'll save the NFC East for last, you Cowboy fans. But yeah, I think that's how it's going to go down. But as of right now, let's kick it off. NFC West. You have the Super Bowl champions, the LA Rams. You have the San Francisco 49ers, the NFC champion runner-up. You have the Seattle Seahawks, and then you have the Arizona Cardinals. So starting off with the Arizona Cardinals here at number 4, we start from worst to last. They finished last in the division with a pretty solid record for finishing last. The Seattle Seahawks were 7-10 in 2021. They had a mega offseason, to say the least. A lot of talking points here. So normally I start with the ads, but I think it's important I start with the losses here. They lose their Super Bowl champion franchise quarterback Russell Wilson via trade. They traded him to the Denver Broncos. They also lost their all-pro Super Bowl champion Bobby Wagner, their linebacker. Chris Carson, their starting running back last year, retired due to a neck injury. Former Super Bowl champion, been on the team a couple of times, KJ Wright finally departs. Carlos Dunlap off the edge departs. And their offensive tackle, Dwayne Brown, departs. Now let's get into the ads because that's a lot of losses there. On the ads, though, when they traded Russell Wilson, they got a couple of pieces. They got Noah Fant, Pro Bowl tight end, I'm not sure if he's been a Pro Bowler yet, but he's definitely that caliber of a player. Quarterback Drew Lock, kind of a backup quarterback in most people's eyes. I think Brad and I would definitely agree there. Defensive end Shelby Harris. And then they add a wide receiver, Marquise Goodwin from free agency. And they draft a player that I think is definitely going to be probably the best rookie as far as fantasy goes. Kenneth Walker, the third out of Michigan State, absolute bell cow back from there. Brad, what do you think about the losses? Obviously are huge. They did add a couple of pieces, but ultimately adds losses. What are your opinions there?
Yeah, I think it is critical damage to the structure of this team, and their record is going to display that throughout the entire season. I think there's too many times we've given too much respect or even kind of hand-me-down wins or opinions simply because Russell Wilson was on this offense. And I think this defense was always pedestrian, but they have Bobby Wagner. I look at the secondary. Jamal Adams hasn't been good the last few years, in my opinion. Quandre Diggs is a good player. Their corners are suspect. Their front seven looks not good. Their O line was bad except for the one guy that they lost. So their offensive line doesn't seem to do well. And they have receivers that I have been very upfront that I simply don't believe in. And I think Russell Wilson made. I'm not high on DK. I've never taken him in fantasy. I'm not high on Tyler Lockett. I think we're going to see KJ Hamler become what Russ made Tyler Lockett. I don't think that they're going to want to be a run first team that plays defense, and they have a bad O line and a bad defense. So I don't understand what this team can do to be good. I think they're one of the 4 teams competing for the number 1 pick in the draft. Their quarterback battle is, I think, moot. I don't think it matters. Geno Smith or Drew Lock. I don't think either guys. Rashad Penny, Kenneth Walker, double-headed backfield to be optimistic. That could work. I could be wrong on Tyler Lockett and DK. Noah Fant, Will Dissly showed some signs. They do have weapons. But O-line, D-line, quarterback, I've said it multiple times. I think those are the 3 most important pieces to a team. And I think they are definitely in the bottom half of the league in all 3 of those categories.
So it's been at least a month now, whenever it happened. So when the Russell Wilson trade went down, we did pod about it. We talked about it. And you said something about Seattle that I thought you nailed on the head. And I think you were trying to be funny, but you're being serious too. Do you remember what you said?
I don't.
You said Seattle just needs a Russell Wilson.
Oh, yes.
And literally, I look at this offense, and it's gross how good it could be. But they don't have a quarterback because they decided to trade him. They're getting draft picks in return for Russ. Obviously, they got Noah Fant, they got Shelby Harris, they got Drew Lock. They're also getting some draft picks there. Those draft picks have to be, I would assume after this horrendous season they're going to have, they have to acquire a quarterback because you're not moving forward with Drew Lock and you're not moving forward with Geno Smith. Both are below average starters in this league and probably more suited for backup roles. They're not even bridge guys. Like Teddy Bridgewater's a bridge guy. Like these are not bridge guys. These are backup quarterbacks here. I think Seattle has, outside of the O-line, this is so stupid. They probably have top 5 weapons. I know you don't agree. You're not huge on him. I like DK a lot. I love Lockett. I fought for him last year when we did the wide receiver draft. I fought hard for him. I love Noah Fant and Michigan State, but Kenneth Walker III is an absolute boss carrying the rock. And Rashard Penny never really lived up to that draft capital that they spent on him. I believe it was a first-round pick. But he's been solid, especially late in the year last year. Go ahead.
Yeah, he helped some fantasy teams win championships last year with some backdoor great play at the end of the year. So with this 2-headed monster, I mean, there is upside, and that's, but man, I don't think, I guess it does play in quarterback play. There's some people that try and talk to me, whether it's at work or, in leisure time, that try and say Geno played well when Russ was out last year. And it's like, not well enough, not nearly well enough. Well enough to lose games that they would have won with Russell Wilson, I guess. I don't think either of these quarterbacks are worth it. And I think this is a team that has a brutal schedule. But if I had to guess, off the top of my head, I haven't done my full schedule yet. This would be my pick to be the second pick in the draft next year. I think that's where they'll be.
We're splitting hairs here. I think they're slightly better than that. Because there's a team that we'll talk about later that is worse than them for sure, in my opinion. And we already said that we both agree that the Bears are fighting for that first spot
That's
too.
the number one pick.
Yes, I think that's the number one pick as well, especially today Roquan Smith said he wants out. So that is what it is. I'm trying to think here. I thought I had another point. Maybe I don't. I just think that ultimately, let me say this. There's a quarterback that is rumored to be traded or cut. I doubt he is traded to this location because it typically does not happen this way. But if he is cut, does Jimmy G wind up on the Seattle Seahawks?
No. If he gets cut and it's up to him, and we'll get to this later. Well, depending on the severity of the injury, I think Jimmy Garoppolo could be a Ram for 1 year. With Matthew Stafford's elbow problems.
I mean, we're going to talk about the Rams here in a bit, but there's not talk that Matthew's going to shut it down, is he?
It's on the table. They don't know. They're still trying to figure out what's wrong with it. There's a possibility he needs Tommy John.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah, I didn't hear that. So if that does not happen, this is my pick. It has been my pick the whole time that I thought Jimmy G would be an absolute home run to this spot because they have two receivers. They have the running game. They don't have the offensive line, and they have the tight end. And I've heard this a few times, but just the evidence isn't there. There's no way that Pete Carroll wants to rebuild a team, right? He's one of the oldest coaches in the league, if not the oldest coach.
I would have said that but then he traded Russell Wilson.
I know. The evidence doesn't back. That's what I said. I was like, the evidence doesn't back up my statement, but it just, I don't know. Kyle Miller, he's a pretty faithful listener of Real Talk. I know he's a big Seahawks fan. Dude, your team's in for very tough road ahead.
But by the way, though, that stuff about Matt Stafford, that's like low end possibility. But essentially, a lot of people think he's downplaying soreness, that he's going to rest, get ready for the season, but it's going to grow as a problem during the season. The way it was explained to me is the inside of your arm, this muscle, that is golfer's elbow. The outside, if that's causing pain, it's called tennis elbow. If you have both, it's called thrower's elbow. And right now they believe Matt Stafford has that. The muscle on the inside and outside of his right elbow have nagging pain. It was identified as abnormal pain. He's downplaying it, but I don't know how much he's practicing. He could be sidelined for a while. We're definitely not going to see him in the preseason.
Yeah.
On the flip side, if Jimmy G gets cut and has the choice of his operation, he may go somewhere where he feels he can win the job and be somewhere for 5 or 6 years rather than another place to get to know everybody, play a year, and then be on the move again. So Seattle, in that sense, makes more sense. I have 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, 2 receivers, a defensive head coach in Seattle. I know the division, so that's always a possibility. He's on the table. But
my two spots the entire year. One, because they suck and they could instantly take him, the Giants. Would you agree there?
Yeah, I don't know if Daniel Jones is it.
No, I don't think he's it. Well,
I don't either.
Yeah. The other one, because of how stacked they are offensively, and they have the draft capital next year, they could go out and get the lineman, is Jimmy G. And I just think that he fits perfect with Seattle. Sorry, it's Seattle, not Jimmy G. So it's Seattle.
And by the way, their loss at left tackle, Dwayne Brown, still a free agent.
Correct.
He could come back to the team. He is not on a roster. So
I doubt
he
rejoins this team.
It could be a sign and trade, and they go for Roquan Smith from the Bears. Bears get a Pro Bowl left tackle, which they need for Justin Fields, and the Seahawks get Roquan Smith, a much-needed hole that Bobby Wagner needs to be filled. I don't know if that'll work, but that just sounds good off the top of the cuff here. I just kind of thought of it. Sign and trade left tackle, middle linebacker.
Yeah. Let's get in the first 5 if you're ready.
Yes.
Game number 1, we talked about this last week. First off, side note, week 1, do yourself a favor. Google the schedule for week 1. We are in for an absolute treat. But back to the discussion. Week 1, Seattle hosts the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson. So a homecoming right from the get, Monday Night Football. This is a fun game. I wouldn't say it's going to be a good game. I believe we both took Denver to win last week. I said it would not be a rout. I thought Seattle would try everything in their power to keep it close. I know you think it's going to be a beatdown.
Big time.
Yeah. Week 2, Seattle travels to the 49ers. So it's at San Francisco. We're going to talk about San Francisco here in a second. They have a favorable early season schedule, in my opinion. I think they're going to take advantage of the Seattle Seahawks defensively. They have no way to stop the run. And the San Francisco 49ers, even if Trey Lance does not throw a pass, I would pick them to win this game.
Yeah, after Russ has a homecoming, now we have a Jimmy G homecoming. Jimmy G goes to the 49ers as a Seahawk. It's on the table. Could be possible.
It's absolutely on the table.
But neither of those quarterbacks are good enough, I don't think, to beat the 49ers with that roster. So 49ers at home.
Week 3, the Falcons come to Seattle. A second ago, you said that Seattle was buying for number 2. In my opinion, they are better than the Falcons. I'm giving Seattle the victory over the Falcons because, honestly, both teams have bad quarterback play. Atlanta has a slightly better defense, but Seattle has way better weapons. I'm taking Seattle in what's probably a dumpster fire of a game.
Yeah, this is a close game. This is it's actually gonna be a good game with bad teams, but I think it's gonna be a good game to watch. But simply on location, I'm gonna take the Seahawks. If this was at Mercedes-Benz, I actually think I would.
That played into the factor too of the win. So we agree. We both got them at 1 and 2. Week 4 at the Lions. Historically speaking, you're down the Lions. We're not into the Lions yet, but preview Lions or Seahawks here.
Easy pick on the Lions here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not as high as everybody else. I think Vegas has the Lions at 6.5 plus over under. I'm not ready to slam that over, though I think that's probably 1 over, like a 7.
I gotta peep the schedule
for the Lions.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it yet.
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough, and we'll talk about that soon. But I got the Lions here too, so we brought them at 1 and 3. Week 5 at the Saints. This is a team I'm actually pretty excited to talk about. We've talked almost nothing about the Saints. Both teams are going to have iffy quarterback play, but Jameis is obviously better than any option the Seahawks have. Both teams have pretty good weapons. Games at New Orleans. New Orleans has a better defense. I think the Saints win this game.
This is one of those games where I come out and say the Saints would win this game. Like, if you only counted points from the Saints defense. I think the Saints defense might just outscore the Seahawks this game. I think the Saints are real. Can't wait to talk about them. At Detroit and then down to New Orleans. No shot.
Yeah. I'm going to give you 3 more, just quick W or L here. Home against the Cardinals.
L.
Yeah, I agree. At the Chargers.
Win. No way.
When you call me off, go because you have the Chargers starting big. Yeah, Chargers are definitely winning that. And then home against the Giants. I got Seattle there. So I got them at 2 and 6 going into their bye. I'm sorry, that's not their bye week. I got them at 2 and 6. You got them at 1 and 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're better than the Giants.
The Giants are gonna be so bad.
Yeah, Giants can be really bad.
No, Seahawks win that game at home against the Giants. Probably, yeah, 2-6 sounds about right.
Yeah, Seattle's in for a tough season. If you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, I'm sorry because it just seems like they're light years away. New England lost Tom Brady, and it seemed like they were light years away. They won 7 games, and I'm not sure how at times. I don't think Seattle has a shot to win 7 games this year. That's so far and away feasible in my opinion. Anything else on the Seattle Seahawks?
I'm trying to look this up right now. Just real quick. Hold on. I can't find it right now, but I believe somewhere it said the average ticket price was $3,000. But the Seahawks are the team that plays Tampa in the first ever game in Munich, Germany, come week 10.
This
And
is
on
true.
the ESPN thing on the right, it says tickets as low as $529. So those are like the cheapest tickets. So it's super expensive. People are going to get to see the GOAT, Tom Brady, come in and play some football. It's going to be very exciting. And it is going to be an absolute beatdown. But that should be a very fun game, a game you'd want to get up early in the morning to see. Because as a soccer fan, I'm telling you, if you have not seen Allianz Arena, where Bayern Munich plays, it is a absolute spectacle, even on TV. It is absolutely amazing to see. Beautiful stadium, and should be fun to see the boys going over there in Germany.
I do have a question. Maybe you know this, maybe you don't. So when they play in London, that's obviously not very far from Germany. So we're talking the same time zone, right? The game's probably going to start at 9 in the morning.
It says 9:30 a.m. Yep.
Okay, 9:30. All right. Yeah, I think that the NFL did Germany a big treat here by giving them a game. In their first ever game gets Tom Brady in his last season ever.
Huge.
They obviously knew what they were doing here. And the ticket prices, if you guys have not heard this, as Brad just alluded to, the cheapest was like 500. Like the most expensive is like 300,000.
Oh,
No, it's like stupid. Like for like front row, I think it's going for look it up. Some crazy amount of money. Apparently over 2 million people tried to purchase tickets when they went live, and it almost like broke the website. I was reading some stuff. You're not seeing it? The ticket price I've seen was astronomical. It was like nobody can afford this.
Yeah, because I thought there was something I saw that said the average price for a ticket was 13,000 or something stupid like that.
Yeah, that's the average price.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm talking about the most expensive was like
so
$300,000.
They go from 500 to whatever, and like this stadium,
it's Super Bowl prices basically to attend this game, Seattle versus Tampa Bay. And as you alluded to, it's in a soccer stadium. Those things usually pack some people. It probably holds 80,000 people.
75,024.
Okay. Yeah, a ton of people.
They should do one in Barcelona at the Camp Nou. It can hold 99,000.
Jeez. Michigan Stadium too. Lions should have a home game at Michigan Stadium. That would be so dope.
I talked about like if they ever realigned the divisions or whatnot.
Yeah.
Like that 17th or 18th game should be like call like hometown rivalry, where you take every team and match them up the 2 closest everywhere, and they played a neutral site. Like the Steelers and Eagles would play at Penn State Stadium.
Oh,
neutral
that would be
middle
so
stadium.
dope.
Or you'd have Houston versus Dallas, but at like the where Oklahoma
Texas
and Texas split. Yeah, wherever
the Texas State Fair.
Right.
Yeah.
So you play it there, or you just have like, I mean, the LA stadiums in New York, they just play in their own stadium, obviously. Yeah. But it would just be fun to do those like neutral sites. Like if it was Detroit and Cleveland that matched up, well, you'd have Buffalo. You see, it would be a little bit odd, but it would just be fun if it would be Baltimore versus Washington. Right there as like in all of those instances I just named, I believe one team's AFC, one's NFC. Steelers, Eagles, Cowboys, Texans.
And then the next year, flip them. They can have a different site
Yeah, it would just be a lot of fun to like put those in neutral sites. But anyway, that's all
Bengals, Browns, Ohio State.
Boom, yeah, right there.
Plenty of great.
Bengals, Browns at the shoe. Give it to me.
Dude, that play, it would sell out instantly. The only problem I see, and this would be a real problem. the East Coast wouldn't have places to play.
Right. It actually makes zero sense and is impossible to do. It's just fun to like kind of spitball what some of those matchups would be.
It makes sense in a I guess like if Ohio State, if all these colleges are willing to pay the NFL, hey, we want to host this game and here's the price. I mean, it could be for a fun neutral site atmosphere, but I see what you mean. Or even they did it during the preseason, just to, you know what I mean? Just to add, because preseason struggles to sell tickets. It just really does.
If
That's
they
why
realign the divisions and the divisional games were at neutral sites, all
yeah,
your divisional games, no home, no way.
yeah.
Some people are listening like, that's stupid. Move on to the 49ers. And that's what we're
You know,
going to
like
do right
talk
now.
the 49ers.
That's what we're going
All
to
right,
do right now.
sorry we went long on that. 49ers, San Francisco 49ers. The 2021 season saw them go 10-7. It's pretty much a well-known fact that they have moved on and they are starting QB Trey Lance. He'll be the new quarterback this year. Their ads, not a ton of notable ads. Wide receiver Ray McLeod, former Steeler. Tight end Tyler Kroft. Wide receiver Willie Snead comes over. Offensive tackle Jordan Mills. As far as the losses go, quite a few actually. So Maurice Hurst, formerly Mo Hurst, go blue. Defensive end D Ford has seen his career steadily fall down since the AFC title offsides against the Patriots back when he played for the Chiefs. Longtime All-Pro and Pro Bowl center Alex Mack retires. That's a big loss up front. Running back Raheem Mostert, which, by the way, you told me earlier in the year that he had joined the Dolphins. I thought he was with the Dolphins last year. Don't know who I was thinking of. He joins the Dolphins finally this year. So you're right about that. I was completely wrong. Raheem Mostert, that's a loss. And then I wrote down Jimmy G because regardless, he out of there. Three more things with the offseason. I'll pass over to you. Debo requests a trade. He ends up staying. He resigns for a 3-year deal. There's some money built in if he wants to play running back or they make him play running back. He'll get paid on those efforts. Nick Bosa, 5th year's picked up. He has not been exercised outside of that, though. There's no other extension to talk about, but he had his 5th year picked up. And they did lose their offensive coordinator, Mike McDonald. Is that his name?
Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel to the Miami Dolphins to be the head coach. Anything that you heard or anything you want to add that you want to elaborate on?
Yeah, I think one of the sneaky pickups. Did you say Charvarius Ward in your ads? Not. Okay, so Charvarius Ward was the 2nd highest graded corner behind J.C. Jackson in the AFC. He played for the Chiefs. He was part of their resurgence on defense. He went to the 49ers. So they got a really good corner there. Their front 7 is still going to be very good, especially with Nick Bosa coming back, Fred Warner flying around at middle linebacker, Javon Kinlaw, Eric Armstead. The front 7 wreaks havoc. They have one of the best tackle combinations on offense, Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey. They're going to be just fine on the outside there. And then you see their truly positionless offense. Elijah Mitchell, Debo Samuel, George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk. We talked about this all the time last year. It seems like this team can line up, and at any given time, they can have 7 offensive linemen or 7 receivers on the field. And now that they have a quarterback that they can design bootlegs and use his legs, I think that's very exciting for Kyle Shanahan. And like you said, they got a little bit of a favorable dip in their schedule. I think it shakes out pretty well for them. I look for this team to go. I'm a believer. I think Trey Lance will work. And I think that this team, if Trey Lance is bad or not very good, is just 10-7 again. I think their roster is that good. If you believe Trey Lance can really make explosive plays, not be top 5, but be a good quarterback and maybe be an improvement from Jimmy or show that he has better playmaking ability, this team can reach the 12-13 win mark that we kind of have forecasted for them the last 4 years. This team's really good. Should be a lock for the playoffs in an open NFC race. And I look for them to either come second in the division or win it. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, on multiple occasions, this is the 3rd year of the division breakdowns, and both years in the past, I had the San Francisco 49ers as basically the NFL's best team. They're just so good up front. defensively, they're well coached. Schematically, they're great. I do worry. I do worry that they're moving off Jimmy G. I know a lot of people don't necessarily believe in him, but I do believe that there are stats out there that show that he's the guy. There are stats that show he's not. So, I mean, take it either way. But I'm excited for Trey Lance. If people remember, the number one pick last year in the draft, Trevor Lawrence, was pretty much always going to be number one. Number two, from pretty much as long as we knew Trevor Lawrence was going, was always going to be Zach
Wilson.
Smith. Jack Wilson. Thank you. Wow, I couldn't think of his name. Zach Wilson. And then number
Zach.
three, Zach Smith. Number three was pretty much up until the moment it was picked was said to be Mac Jones. And if you remember correctly, it was getting mocked that way pretty much everywhere. Mac Jones, Mac Jones, Mac Jones. And bam, at the last second, it's Trey Lance. So they traded multiple picks for this guy. This is their quote unquote guy. They're going all in on him, and rightfully so. I think it's gonna be a fun season no matter what, because this is gonna be full of storylines. You know, Trey Lance. We've seen quarterbacks sit for a year before, and they turned out to throw 50 touchdowns in their first year. Patrick Mahomes. So, expectations for the team outside of that?
No, I think this team is gonna go this year. I think they're gonna be really good.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and get into their first five. I don't have a ton more to add off-season wise. Do you?
No.
Okay. So, game one. I just spoke about this a second ago. I think their first before their bye week, they're set up very favorable. So week one, they're at the Chicago Bears. They're gonna. I said it a minute ago, and I was serious, and I mean this too. If they didn't hand the ball or they didn't pass the ball at all, they're beating the Bears. Like there's nothing the Bears can do to beat the Niners.
There is a fun storyline here though, because a lot of people said if you weren't going to draft Mac and you were just going to go with an athlete, why wouldn't you take Justin Fields out of Ohio State? So these are two guys that were drafted third and fourth respectively in like the quarterback rankings. I know Justin went like 10th, but still this is some young quarterbacks who are athletic, who show promise. One is on a much better roster than the other, but still just a storyline to keep this game relatively interesting, at least until the second quarter when the 49ers have the game wrapped up.
See the second quarter?
Yeah, it won't take long.
You're such a troll, and I love it.
It won't take long. I'm sorry, Bears fan. I've done more for the Bears on this pod than I probably should have the last few years.
That's you. At times, you've sounded silly trying to defend them.
Everything good about the Bears is not on the Bears anymore. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I got them winning. We just spoke about this game. They're home against the Seahawks. We both had them winning that one. Week 3, we spoke about this game last week. Niners traveling to Denver. I actually took the Niners last week. Do you remember who you took?
I took Denver last week, and I'm going to stick with it. But you were right. Denver does have two big emotional games. But I also think the 49ers are going to have this naive belief after 2 route wins that they are the cream of the crop. And they're going to finally play a good team in Denver. And should be a really good game, though. Again, Denver on a Sunday night game. That's all eyes on that game. I mean, 49ers versus Broncos. That'll be good.
Week 4, home against the Rams. So the Rams have not been able to beat the San Francisco 49ers, but they did beat them in the NFC Championship game. But the Niners had a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. Just wasn't enough to hold off the Rams. I actually have the Niners beating the Rams, especially right now. I think it's still early. The Rams didn't really get it going until late in the season. They did have a couple hiccups in the middle of the year. I like the Niners to pull this one off.
I do like the Niners too, but one thing that worries me is Alex Mack is gone, Aaron Donald and Bobby Wagner in the middle of that defense. If we start to see a pattern where Bobby Wagner's just running free because Aaron Donald is like making holes for him. Again, we always talked about how Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, but then the Rams offense carried. I think the Rams offense is still going to be really good, but the addition of Bobby Wagner cannot be understated in this defense. I mean, it's tough to ever give the Rams a loss. There are some teams you just like so much, but divisional game Monday night in 40 at San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan always seems to play this team very well, if not getting a W. Take the 49ers.
Week 5 at the Panthers. Boy, oh boy. We'll talk about the Panthers soon. It won't be today. You are guilty of backing the Bears wrongfully. I am guilty for backing the Panthers until the day I die. I'm done doing that. I've sold all my stock at a massive loss, mind you.
You bought high and sold low.
Oh, I bought way. I
down.
overpaid. I overpaid and sold at a massive loss. Yeah, no, the Niners are gonna absolutely obliterate the Panthers.
I'm not going to push back. I think that's right.
Give me a quick preview of the Panthers. Very bad, middle road. Where are you at? Because they're not going to be great. So very bad or middle road.
I mean, head coach seems to be in over his skis at the NFL level. Defense is still super young. Don't love their quarterbacks. McCaffrey, if McCaffrey can stay healthy, this team is somewhere to 4 to 7 wins. If McCaffrey is not healthy, this team is somewhere between 2 and 5 wins.
It's fair.
So I would put them either way around 5 wins, 4 or 5 wins.
Yeah, it's roughly kind of where I got them. So yeah, that's fine. We're gonna keep going just because again this schedule sets up nice. Week 6 at the Falcons. I have the Niners starting 6-0 to start the year.
I mean, the Falcons are just so bad, but being across the country back-to-back games in Carolina and Atlanta, that's kind of tough. But again, the 49ers roster is just so deep. I like the 49ers here. I got them at 5-1.
So 6-0, I have them. You have it 5-1. Then they start reading some good opponents here. Week 7, they're home against the Chiefs. I'm not sure if I took the Niners in this game or if I took the Chiefs. Hang on here. No, I took the Chiefs. I'm going to stick with that. I think the Chiefs Chiefs take care of the Niners.
Chiefs lose.
Okay. And then last but not least, before the bye week, they're at the Rams. The Rams finally beat them in the regular season after a couple of droughts. They're 6-2 going into their bye week.
Yeah, I have them 6-2 as well. I've lost to Denver and Los Angeles.
Yeah, and I just have them going back to back, Chiefs and Rams.
Kansas City, Los Angeles. Okay.
Yeah, this is a very good team, and their sight should be 100% set on getting to the playoffs because I think they're that good. And I gave them 6 wins out of their first 8. I don't even know what the rest of their schedule looks like, but it's favorable to start the year.
They've got some tough games, but
let's do this. Just start rattling them off, and I can tell you if they get to 10 wins. Start week 10 after the bye week.
Home against the Chargers.
That's tough. I'm not giving them a win. Keep going.
They have 5 home games in a row out of the bye.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do.
5?
Because they already had 5 away games in 8 weeks to start the season.
Wow. Okay. Wow. So this is favorable.
Home against the Chargers.
I'm not going to give a win or loss. I'm just going to
home against the Cardinals. Actually, I'm sorry. That's a neutral site. So I think this is the New Mexico game. Monday night against the Cardinals, Monday night. It's got an asterisk for neutral location, but it's still an 8 p.m. Monday night. So I think it's at Mexico City.
Yeah, I'm giving them the win.
Okay. Then they're home against the Saints. Pass.
Yeah, I'm going to pass. That's a great game. That's a really great game.
Home against the Dolphins.
That's a win.
Home against the Bucks.
No, keep going.
Then their away games at Seattle.
Win.
Then they're back home against the Commanders.
Win.
Then they're at the Raiders.
Loss.
Wow. then they're home against the Cardinals. So they technically have 2 home games against the Cardinals, but the one's neutral site, so it doesn't go down as. That's weird that it says versus Cardinals both times.
Because they had a home game taken from them.
Right, but you would still think it would just say at since they're traveling to a different place. But
yeah, that is weird.
yeah, both games versus the Cardinals say home, so they end at home. So the only away games they have after the bye week is the Cardinals, Seahawks, Raiders. 2 of those are really winnable because I don't know if you're high in the Cardinals we're about to see, and they're
Yeah,
going
we're
to
about
sweep
to see.
Seattle.
Yeah, wow, I just gave them 10 wins that I felt really good about, and I didn't even guarantee the other ones. So
Right.
I gave them what I thought were 100% locked. So I'm giving them
That's
10
why I
wins.
said
They probably could get to 12.
they could potentially win the division because the Rams, I feel, are going to have a harder schedule.
Yeah, I'm always higher on the Niners than probably what I should be for whatever reason. I don't know why. I always fall in that trap with them. Anything else before we move on to the Cardinals?
There is just a little bit of breaking news here, real quick. There was a statement released by Roger Goodell here. More on NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell saying Tuesday that the league is seeking a tougher penalty for Deshaun Watson because the quarterback's actions were egregious, or quote unquote egregious, and quote unquote predatorial behavior. And my ESPN update says Roger Goodell says evidence demands at least 1 year ban for Deshaun Watson. Does not know timeline of appeal ruling. So that kind of confirms Roger Goodell is going very hard for an entire year suspension for Deshaun, which I think, just on a side note, I think could be appropriate, but I think it also could be bad in the sense that now this is going to be a story next year's offense too, because he's returning. 12 to 14 might make sense, but essentially Roger Goodell is flexing here, saying, I don't know the timeline for the appeal, but I demand 1 year. There's plenty of evidence that blah, 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 such and such. You guys may already know this by the time you hear the pod, but just sharing it with you to get your quick assessment on Roger Goodell coming out of that.
Kind of what we expected.
Yep.
As soon as we heard an appeal, I think we both assumed it was probably going to be close to a year, if not every bit of a year. So I don't really have any thoughts or arguments elsewise.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple. This would get into a big rabbit hole, but there are a couple things I just don't understand through the whole thing. So, for those of you that don't know, Alvin Kamara not over the offseason, Pro Bowl weekend, beat the piss out of somebody in a bar, and nothing has been done. It has not been talked about. You listen to all these.
I know something on that. For some reason, I don't know what the reasoning was, but it was like 2 weeks ago. They said his courtroom hearing has been delayed 2 months. So his courtroom hearing's in the middle of the season. So that means he's going to play at the beginning of the year. And if it turns out he gets 6 games, it could be like weeks 8 to 14 or whenever that gets determined. So it makes him a headache for fantasy drafts because nobody knows what's going to happen to him. If you're in a keeper league, his value is going to be higher, obviously, because next year. But I mean, what does that mean for the Saints?
Yeah, it's just a weird situation. Dalvin Cook during the season last year put out a statement that he was beating, but his wife or girlfriend or whoever, significant other, was abusing him. And a day later, she came out and flipped it and said, "No, he's hitting me too." So it's like, and nothing's been done. And Deshaun, this situation happened before last year's season. It's just weird how the NFL works sometimes, and I feel like it's so inconsistent. It's very frustrating. Because Calvin Ridley sits at home with mental health issues. He can't play, and he bets $1,500 on the Falcons to win, and he's now sitting at home for a year suspension.
Yeah, and no one even it was so
it
quick.
happened so quick.
What, Calvin? It was almost like they were reading a book. Someone said Calvin is betting. They said, "What? Give me a year." Like there was it was so quick, so easy, so buttoned up, and what? So I get what you're saying, but we have given a lot to Deshaun. A lot of it is confusing. Just give you an update. Your response was perfect. That's kind of what we expected when the appeal came out. This is what he was going to do.
Yeah.
Surprised he came out and publicly spoke on it though and said that.
Goodell?
Usually, yeah, usually he's just kind of
Oh, at this point, I think he wants to save a little face. I know there was not just women. I don't want to single women out here. There are a lot of people outraged by the fact that he was only getting 6 games. And I don't think it's right that they're looking at the monetary value of everything because, to be honest, that's irrelevant in my opinion. Like how much money he's getting fined or missing during the games, I think is irrelevant. But 6 games was light. It was very light for when you're comparing it to other things that have happened.
right.
Let's just say that. That's the only way I can say it. Outside of that, Arizona, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Arizona Cardinals in 2021 went 11-6, and I believe this team started 7-0, 8-0. Do you remember? No, doesn't matter.
Something false.
They went a lot in before they finally lost a game to the Packers. I think it was Aaron Rodgers on like a Thursday night. I do have a key stat here though. They were 8-1 on the road last year. That's the signs of a really good football team, in my opinion. Anytime you have a very good road record like that, 8-0 or 8-1 is a very good one. So I did want to point that out. But let's talk about the ads. So they go out and they trade for Hollywood Brown, as everybody calls him, or Marquise Brown. In the second round, that was their first pick because they obviously traded for Hollywood Brown. Their first pick was tight end Trey McBride. And then they go out and sign Jeff Gadley, or they drafted Jeff Gadley. I don't remember. But they acquired him. I don't remember how it was. As far as losses go, Christian Kirk, wide receiver, signs the monster deal with the Jags. Pass rusher Chandler Jones departs for the Raiders. He had 5 sacks in week 1. And then Chase Edmonds, kind of a fantasy stud last year with him and James Conner. He leaves. But they go out and adds losses. They go out and re-sign pretty much their whole offense. They re-signed Kyler. They re-signed AJ Green. They re-signed James Conner. They re-signed Zach Ertz. And then, unfortunately, DeAndre Hopkins gets hit with a 6-game suspension for PEDs. Outside of that, what's the offseason look like for you, Brad?
Just a lot of confusion around who their quarterback is as a person. He seems like a weird guy to me. Not like off the field bad stuff. He just he just seems like socially awkward, reserved, and it just seems like we talked about their start. I know everyone's gonna enjoy it and they're waiting for me to say this. That was pre-Call of Duty release. So it's a thing. I don't care what anybody says. It's got to be a thing. He's, and JJ Watt, bless his soul, can't stay healthy. Buda Baker and Byron Murphy Jr., I think, is good pieces in the secondary. Isaiah Simmons, Zaven Collins at linebacker. I think they can do some things. They're in a tough division in which I think they're, in my opinion, the third best team in the division. James Conner seems to do really well in a 2-headed backfield. Now he's the only guy. Can his body keep up with what he wants to do? I don't know. He was really good last year because he had 18 touchdowns, something crazy like that, 15, 18. I don't know if he'll be able to do that. I'm not sold on Kyler Murray. I think he's really good. I had him ranked as my 12th best quarterback in the league, which is still very good. Offensive line's pretty good. They got the weapons. Not having D-Hop for the first 6 is really tough because he is we saw what he was able to do for Kyler when he came into the offense. But being reunited with his teammate from college, Hollywood Brown, hopefully that comes to fruition. Rondell Moore is really good. AJ Green, he's a big body. He's losing steps in his age as, a lot of players do. But I don't know. The Cardinals are my Titans of the NFC. I just don't really have a good grip on what I want to say about them. I'm interested to watch them because I think deep down, if I don't lie to myself, I want to see them fail.
That's fair. Yeah. The one thing I do want to point out, so Hollywood Brown, about a week ago now, did get a massive speeding ticket in Arizona. And Arizona driving laws, they have like I forget the term they use, but it's basically criminal traffic law. Okay. It's basically what it is, where they actually imprison you if you do these three things. Where typically if if I was speeding, doing his mile per hour on the highway or on the county road around here in Ohio, I would probably just get a fat ticket, have to appear in court. They actually took him to jail. He was doing like 120 miles an hour. I forget how fast the zone was, but in Arizona, there's one of three things that you can do to get that done to you, and that was one of them: excessive speeding of over, I believe,
Probably
20
over
to
double
30.
the limit.
No, it's not even that. It's like if you're doing like 20 to 30 miles an hour over, it's automatic jail, and that's what happened. But he was going like you said, like 50 to 60 miles an hour over. It was something crazy. He was going very fast. Back to football, the Cardinals, Kyler Murray. You said something, and I'm kind of going to piggyback on it. You're just not sure what to think of him at this point. Here's what he reminds me of, and I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way. He's kind of like a high schooler. If you're a high schooler listening to this pod, shout out, thank you. He doesn't have life figured out yet, and he kind of feels like the world's against him, and he's very like temper tantrum, like not getting my way. I'm gonna throw a fit, which isn't really high school. That's more like childish, but he just doesn't strike me as the guy of like, all right, boys, let's get it. Let's next play, next down. It's like lineman steps off sides, eye roll. I throw a ball to D Hop and it goes over his head. Throw your hands up and blame D Hop. You're looking at Ertz and it bounces off his hands, it's picked off, and you stand there and just stare at Ertz like he's an idiot. Like I just get those vibes from him, and ultimately, Kyler Murray is an exceptional quarterback. When you are the greatest player in the history of Texas football, the state of Texas, high school football, that alone says something about you. There's a lot of great players. Google them. When you win the Heisman Trophy in college football, that's an exceptional award. Look at the list of players to do it. Google it. They're great. When you're an elite football player and you're also an elite another sport, this case baseball, you're a good player. Not even good. You're great. Okay? And as far as the film study goes, shockingly, this is the first time it's being brought up. If you have a clause in your contract that you need to watch film, it looks bad on you. But dear Lord, if you've never been watching film and you've been this successful in the league, the rest of the league needs to hope he doesn't watch film. Because I would assume that would make him better by default. Would we agree?
I saw this one video of him kind of defending himself on that, and I don't know. I can't imagine he's not watching film because I couldn't do that. I don't even think it has to do with that. I just think like maybe there's times where he comes into the facility on the day of the game just too tired because he's staying up playing video games, not watching film for video games. And you said he's elite at 2 sports. He's actually elite at 3. Esports is now a sport, video game. No, I know it's funny, but like he's in the most reputable one of 4 like first person shooters in the FaZe clan. So it's like they pay him. He plays with them. So it's like it's not like this, it's almost like another profession to him, something he can continue. So and I'm sure he has a lot of close friends or rich friends that he plays with on these things. And I know I do. I know some of you listeners, you game and all of a sudden, hey, it's 10:30. Oh no, it's not. It's 1 a.m. You come to a game a little bit tired, and people say, well, when Kyler Murray gets off to a bad start, like a lot of times the game gets away from him. He's a live bet quarterback. Well, maybe these slow starts are because he's not getting enough sleep. He's staying up doing this and that, just different things. There's no way he wasn't watching film. Like I said, the Titans and Cardinals for me, I just secretly want them to fail, and I don't really have a big reason behind that. But I have secret teams I root for to do good, and some that just, I hope they don't do good. And Cardinals are one of them.
Week 1, they travel.
They're going to go 0-17.
Week 1, they're home against Kansas City. I had this as a loss. I said this last week. I thought Kansas City would beat them.
Loss.
Week 2 at the Raiders. You heard me last week. I'm picking the Raiders to win the division. I have the Raiders beating the Cardinals.
Loss.
Week 3, home against the Rams. I think the Rams are better. This is tough. A really, really tough start for the Arizona Cardinals. This is as tough a 3-game stretch as anybody's going to have. I have the Rams winning.
Loss.
Yeah, so they dropped to 0-3. Here's where it gets interesting. I don't know if we're going to agree here, but
We're not.
We're gonna go past 5 because there's a run here. Week 4 at the Panthers. They're winning that game.
Win.
Week 5, home against the Eagles. They're winning that game.
They lose.
Not a chance.
They lose.
Not a chance. They're losing to the Eagles. The Eagles can't throw the ball.
Okay.
Here, we'll decide when the season starts. I'm willing to bet the Cardinals beat the Eagles. I say it now, and I think I'll double down when the season starts. You're taking the Eagles. That's fine.
No.
You have them at 1-4. I have them at 2-3 after 5. But we're gonna keep going here because I think they roll off some here. Week 6 at Seattle. I think they beat them.
Win.
Week 7, home against the Saints. While this is a great game and I could see it going either way, I'll take the Cardinals here.
Saints.
Okay. Week 8 at the Vikings. Save me with all this BS that the Vikings are that much better than everybody says. I think they beat the Vikings.
Vikings.
We massively disagree on the Cardinals.
Big time. Here. I knew we would.
That's fine.
Yeah,
Week 9.
Have those teams. Gotta have those teams.
Yeah. No, I like this. Week 9, home against the Seattle Seahawks. I have them beating Seattle.
Win. Poor Seattle.
Okay. So after 9 games, they
Let's
started
0-3. Let's do those next 3.
Settle down. So after 9 games, they started 0-3, but then they rolled off 6 in a row. I have them for myself. But what do you have them at roughly?
How many games do we do?
We just did 9 games.
I have them at 3-6. They're about to be
There's
3-9.
no way.
They're about to be 3-9.
Go ahead with the next 3. Week 10, they're at the Rams. That's a loss. They're losing the Rams.
Then the Mexico City game.
We just talked about that when I took the Niners.
We both did, yep.
Yep. And then what's the 12th game?
Home against the Chargers. By the way, we did 12 games. Their bye week is 13 for those of you listening. We didn't skip the bye. I have them a loss at the Chargers. I don't know. Or loss home against the Chargers.
I'll give them 3 straight losses just for the sake of argument. They're 6-6 heading into their bye. You have them way lower than that. You have them at 3-9.
I don't want to. I just think they're not that good.
Can you admit they're better than 3 wins right now?
That's the fun about looking at schedules versus just picking a
I know.
A win total, and that's when it gets like kind of challenging. I don't think they're like, I don't know. At least they get like early on, like when you talk about the Panthers, Eagles, Seahawks, New Orleans, that 4-game stretch, they get the easier teams on the road and the harder teams at home. That's kind of favorable. But yeah, I think it's a big hit not having D-Hop those first 6 games. And then I like the Saints and Vikings. I know we're probably going to differ quite a bit on the Vikings. It's going to be another one of those teams that we disagree on. But I'm so high on the Eagles. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the Saints. I like the Vikings. I like the Eagles. I don't think any of them are better than the Cardinals.
I do. I guess that's where we do.
Yeah. Anything else on the Cardinals before we move on to the Super Bowl champs?
No.
Okay. Last but not least, in the NFC West, we have the divisional champions. We have the Super Bowl champions. This is the LA Rams. Their 2021 schedule has seen them finish up 12-5. They won a couple of playoff games, including beating Tom Brady and winning the Super Bowl over Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Their ads. Nothing serious, just all-pro linebacker Bobby Wagner. And just past Pro Bowler Allen Robinson. Their losses. They're big. Wide receiver Robert Woods, wide receiver Odell Beckham, running back Sony Michel, defensive end Von Miller, cornerback Troy Hill, and probably the biggest one because this player actually was with them for several years. Offensive tackle Andrew Whitworth to retirement.
They, forgive me if I'm wrong, but they lost Troy Hill to the Browns 2 years ago, and this year they acquired him. They got him back.
Oh, my bad. Maybe that.
Yep.
Okay, I might have misread it then.
They got him back from the Browns this year.
Okay, so he's an ad. My bad for that.
Yep.
So
okay.
I will say this: their losses are not going to sound like a big deal because 3 of them were not on their team to start training camp last year. Odell Beckham, Sony Michel, Von Miller were not on the team when they started training camp last year. They were acquired mid-season after cuts, after trades, after whatever. The Rams are really good. They've become the Patriots in this sense. They rent players. Come play with us. You'll win. You'll leave. And this is kind of the first time the Rams have really gone out and got somebody in free agency, it seems like. Going out and getting Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson. Because, like, Matthew Stafford acquired via trade. Jalen Ramsey acquired via trade. Odell was picked up through the block. Von Miller was acquired via trade. So it's like their big-time players have been via trade. So it is interesting that they were able to go out and spend in free agency like they did. As far as one more thing before I turn over to you, on the re-signed, who are their best 5 players?
Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, excuse me, and
They're just okay. Those are their top 4, right? Those are top 4.
Yeah.
Everybody but Ramsey got re-signed, and Ramsey got re-signed like 2 years ago. So literally, their core, their best players are all paid and ready to go, and they add Bobby Wagner and Allen Robinson. So fun stuff for the Rams. What do you have to say about them? Adds, losses, anything else?
Not much. The only thing that I think hinders this team is if the Matt Stafford injury is real. Because I don't know if you know these studs, but John Wolford, Bryce Perkins, and Luis Perez. I don't think any of those 3 guys you want starting for your football team. So Cam Akers came back with a storm last year in the postseason. Darrell Henderson's a nice second punch. Kupp, Robinson, Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee, all dogs. Offensive line will still be good. They do lose Whitworth, but they'll be all right. Aaron Donald, Bobby Wagner, Jalen Ramsey. I don't care who the other 8 guys are, and a lot of them are pretty good, but I don't care who the other 8 are. Those 3 guys at every level turn your defense into, just a grade above. So it's just it's going to be fascinating to watch because their headliners are unreal.
Yeah, I just think that you said it, the headliners. Their top tier players are probably better than anybody else's top tier players. Like, you make a list of your top 10 players that you want to send to the practice field, to the pickup game. They're better than anybody else's top 10 players.
Right. It's like in soccer, they create a little game called 5-a-side, and you take like basically your nucleus of like your goalie and 4 best players. So in this case, it's like if you had to pick 5 players to send, the Rams are sending all pros across the board. Jalen Ramsey, Bobby Wagner, Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford. All pro, all pro, all pro, all pro, all pro. Like they're just
Yeah, back in the day, there was this video game called NFL Street where you'd pick like a quarterback and you'd pick like a skill player, a defensive player, and like another guy, I think, right? You get 3 receivers total, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just a fantastic
So it's
game.
like 4-on-4. Yeah, fantastic game. Basically, you're bringing Stafford, Kupp, Donald, and Ramsey. Donald would be the offensive lineman and defensive lineman. Kupp and Ramsey are going to play offense and defense. It just literally studs. And then I feel like we haven't talked about Bobby Wagner enough, which is really sad. I mean, you said it earlier in the pod. I'm going to say it again. Your first level, you have to go through All-Pro, Hall of Fame player Aaron Donald. You're lucky enough to make it to the second level, and you have to go against All-Pro, future Hall of Famer Bobby Wagner. You're lucky enough to do that. You have to go through all-pro, future Hall of Famer Jalen Ramsey. It's disgusting. It's just it doesn't seem fair at times, but they pay the right players. They let go of the right players at the right time, and they're really good.
Don't forget about Dicker the kicker too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is like I'm going to pose a question. Is Sean McVay the best coach in the league right now, or is it still Belichick, or do you have it to somebody else?
There's definitely some guys up there, but Sean McVay has definitely put his hat in the ring. He's changed how we do preseason. He's changed the way a lot of teams go about the offseason. He's very smart offensively in an offensively growing game. He empowers his players. I haven't heard one person even leak something kind of negative about Sean McVay as an ex-player. He really is just he's up there. I mean, you got Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, Sean McVay, Mike Tomlin, Sean McDermott. People are still going to talk about Kyle Shanahan. I don't think it's Pete Carroll. He's done terrible without Russell Wilson. But I'm just like, I don't know. I think he's a top 5 head coach. You have to put Bill Belichick 1 still, but I'm okay with him being 2.
Yeah. I just heard this the other day. I don't remember where I heard this, but during training camp, our reporters at camp, and they just said that Sean McVay, just his energy is just so much different than any other 31 other coaches. There was a play in training camp where X player did X thing, but it was like a standout play. Dude's running across the field, screaming like "Let's go!" getting in his dude's face, like pumping up his players. Like nobody else does that.
Remember during the season, Vance Jefferson caught that touchdown and you ran into the end zone, was like smacking him with the clipboard. And then it came out like a day later, Vance Jefferson is like almost emotional on the sideline. He's like, "Thank you, coach. No one ever believed in me." And McVay's like, "You earned this, man. Way to get it." Pumps him up.
Yeah.
And like slaps him on the helmet and moves on. And it's like, I mean, you see that and you just want to play for that guy. And I love Sean McVay. I like watching the Rams, so I'm okay if they're good. I enjoy watching them, and I hope Matt Stafford's healthy because, I mean, I know he's only like an 83 on Madden, but plays a little bit better than that to me.
Yeah, one more thing. It just shows you how likable Sean McVay is. So everybody that listens to this obviously knows I'm a football nut. I watch a lot of football. My wife could give 2 shits about football, okay? My buddy Andrew, friend of the pod, Dolphin fan, the 2 of us and our families, we went up to the USFL championship game this past summer, but we also stopped at the Hall of Fame. If you've ever been to the NFL Hall of Fame, it's very cool. They have, the Pro Football Hall of Fame. It's very cool. They have like this 3D theater that moves so that's the first part of the theater you're watching. It's basically the NFL season as it unfolds, and then as soon as the Super Bowl starts, the theater moves to a different screen. It shows just the Super Bowl, and it's the sound effects, the stuff you watch on NFL Network and stuff. Well, after it was all said and done, we're literally walking out of the theater, me and Andrew and our wives and our kids. And our 2 wives, Andrew's wife and my wife, who really neither of them care about football, are both borderline choked up about how much like the Rams story, how cool it was, and how McVay was talking about his players and to his players. They're like, "Oh my gosh, we want to watch football now." We're like, "The hell?" Like it was just Sean McVay is a cool dude. And when you look at him and you see him and you watch how he interacts with his players, it's no wonder everybody wants to be there. And even when they leave, there's no hard feelings. Von Miller wanted to play in LA, knew the money wasn't there. He called Coach McVay to say, "Hey, listen, if it's any other team, I probably reject this, but it's Buffalo offering me the most money. I got to go." Like, he don't feel bad if any of the other 30 teams are calling him. But Buffalo's offering the most money and they got Josh Allen. Of course you're going to go. But,
right.
Dude, I just like even Von Miller, who owes them nothing. He was a lifelong Bronco, talked about maybe wanting to go back to the Broncos, but felt the need to call McVay to apologize that he was taking the largest offer by far on the table. It's just a testament.
And on top of that, let's not forget he finally took one this year, I believe. What was it, 35 straight games where if he's leading at halftime, he wins? And when's the last time the Rams lost a close game or even got blown out and you were like, man, what was McVay doing? It seems like he's always engaged, always making the right calls. His challenges are on fire. When he's up at halftime, he doesn't lose, and he's built something there. Him and Stan Kroenke, I believe, is the owner.
Yep.
They have just built something, and man, I hope every stadium builds a spaceship like that. The Bears layout that they're thinking about making, the Bengals one, man, like they are just. I know Colin Cowherd did a segment on this. He's like, if you need to be America's team, you need to be likable and playing when America's watching, which is the postseason. He's like the Steelers, the Cowboys, the Packers, the Rams are America's team right now, and it's like there's no real reason to hate them. You can get behind some of their best players. They're entertaining. They play exciting football, and it's like, hell yeah. You know, I am a Pittsburgh Steelers fan over everything, but I am an NFL fan, and I love watching Rams game. I try and turn them on whenever I can. That's why I'm so excited. The primetime slate this year just looks amazing every week.
Yeah, NFL did a great job with the primetime slate. One more thing before we move on. Yeah, the Patriots during the 2000s, we actually got funny. I mean, a lot of Patriot fans, Twitter, social media, even Gronk and Edelman and them, and they called themselves. They were saying we're America's team, you know, taking it from the Cowboys. We win the most. You see us the most. We're on TV the most, and we're the Patriots. So, like, that was kind of like the running joke, but, like, you just said it. As soon as you're out of the limelight, you're not America's team anymore. And, yeah, the Dallas Cowboys had the largest fan base. It ain't close. Okay, they're number one. But until you step up and man up, yeah, I agree. The Rams could become America's team. They're extremely likable. Everybody that watched the Super Bowl last year, there was not a single person that wanted the Rams to lose or the Bengals to lose. It was like
hard.
all shucks. Yeah, it's like
hard.
all shucks. One of these teams has to freaking lose today, and that sucks. Anyways, first five. You ready?
Yeah.
I say this literally all the time. This first five's tough. Football's great.
First five ain't tough.
Oh, it's tough.
They got 3 free wins in there. 3 free wins in there.
Oh my gosh. All right. Week 1 to kick us off. September 8th.
This is not one of the free wins.
No. To kick us off the NFL season. Okay. God, this is such a banger. We're getting a Super Bowl preview. Is it the two teams that are going to make a Super Bowl? I don't know, but I can tell you one thing. I'm 99% sure that the Rams are the betting favorite in the NFC, and I'm 95% sure the Bills are the betting favorite. So it's pretty much a Super Bowl preview.
Bills have the highest odds to make the Super Bowl right now, and Josh Allen. Yep, and Josh Allen has the highest or MVP lowest odds to win MVP.
Yeah,
like it's all Bills across the sports books early.
No, I get that. So Rams are home against the Bills, the Super Bowl champion 99% of the time will host the home game unless you're from Baltimore. They don't know how to run an organization. But anyways, Rams host the Bills, banger of a game, NFL kickoff. We said this a couple weeks ago. We talked about the Bills for 30 minutes, and then we're like, Rams. Are you sticking with that?
I am going to stick with the Rams.
I am as well. I think the Rams are, at least early in the season, I think they're just slightly better than the Bills. So what a collision course. And if these two teams meet again, we're all blessed. Week 2, home against the Falcons. I think this is their sole easy win. They will take care of the Falcons at home.
Yes, easy win.
Okay. Week 3 at the Cards. I just told you they're losing that game to the Rams. This isn't easy, though. The Cardinals did beat the Rams last year. I do want to remind you, at SoFi Stadium. I am taking the Rams, though, to win this game, 3-0.
Rams, 3-0.
Week 4, I have them losing to the Niners. We just spoke about this. It's at San Francisco. This is their loss to start the year.
Yep.
We agree. Okay, 3-1. Week 5 at the Cowboys. Or, I'm sorry, home against the Cowboys. It's really at the Cowboys, though, because I don't care how popular the Rams get. This stadium will still be 60% Cowboys for this game. It just is what it is. They beat the Cowboys.
Absolutely.
But did the Cowboys beat the Rams last year? No, they beat the Chargers. Okay. I still think that's a fun game. The Cowboys we'll talk about them, I believe. Okay, we're going to talk about them last. They have one of the hardest first five, too. It's a gauntlet of a first five. But some people are saying they're going to go 0-5, which maybe they might. But do you have any more in front of you? Any more games?
I have the whole schedule.
Go ahead and just start reading off some more. We've been doing this for most teams now.
All right, so we both have them at 4-1.
4-1. They're only lost to the Niners.
Home against the Panthers.
Yeah, they're winning that.
Bye week, week 7.
Well, that sucks for them.
All right, so they have one loss. They're 6-1.
Yep.
Home against the 49ers. We gave them a win there.
Yeah, I think that's a win. They're going to split. We're going to give them
and they're coming off their bye.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a win.
So 6-1.
Yep.
Then they are at Tampa. Good game.
That's a flip game. Call it whatever you want. Keep going.
Okay. Home against the home against the Cardinals. Win.
That's tough. Yeah, I just had them sweeping the Cardinals, so I'll stick with that.
At the Saints.
Man, the Saints match up with them really nicely. That's a tough game. Keep going. I don't know if that's a win or loss, honestly.
At the Chiefs.
One of the games of the year, obviously. People are going to love that game. I'm not high on the Chiefs. I think they take a step back. I like the Rams there, but that's a flip game.
Home against Seattle.
That's a rout.
Thursday, December 8th. So they're coming off a short week, but they get probably an easy win against Seattle. Thursday night, home against the Raiders.
That's a really fun game. Both teams that just relocated their fan bases a couple years ago.
Devontae versus Jalen.
Yeah, that's
always fun.
Love that game. When is that one?
Thursday, December 8th. But again, Bobby Wagner and Aaron Donald versus that O-line is going to be tough all night.
Yeah, it's a fun game.
Then
is that on prime time?
Yeah, Thursday night.
Thursday night. Sorry, thank you.
Then they followed up with a Monday night at Green Bay. December 19th in Green Bay. Tough.
Very fun game. Stafford obviously going back to Green Bay. He's played there 10 times in his career, if not more. It's a really fun game. Really excited for that one too. I don't like what the Packers are, but they could definitely win a December home game. Let's be fair. But I like the Rams there.
Home against the Broncos.
Yeah, I think they're better than Denver.
You talked about possible Super Bowl preview. Sunday night, it is an away game, but they play the other Los Angeles team, January 1st, Sunday night. LA versus LA. Chargers, Rams.
Massive game.
By the way, January 1st, that's the week that the Monday night is Bills, Bengals, I believe. Yeah, January 2nd. So we get Chargers versus the Rams and then Bills, Bengals the next night. Those are our two primetime games. That is the weekend Ohio becomes legal gambling, this Sunday, January 1st. This will be the first weekend we get to wake up, do our live countdown, and actually put our bets in if we want to while we pick them.
There is a chance it goes legal October, though, correct?
No.
That's out?
Yep, they put it January 1st because most states will legalize it in like casinos and kiosks at restaurants. And then months later do like the online mobile. Ohio picked the last possible date because they are attempting the largest simultaneous release ever. Everything goes live on Monday. So it could crash, theoretically, that Sunday because it's finally live in Ohio. But casinos, kiosks at restaurants, online, on your phone, computers, all goes January 1st. That's why they picked the very last day.
Very cool. Very cool. In the local casino in Toledo, Ohio, where we're kind of from, they're going to get a Barstool Sportsbook there too. So.
It's already built in. They kind of are. They've already been building it. Yeah, it's pretty much done. And I've seen one. And when I was up at a Michigan casino, you ever had the chance to go to one?
I've never been in a Michigan casino. No.
Okay, so I went in one, and when you see it, it's like right outside. This one was right outside the poker room, but on the top there's like an electronic screen, and it just has like games going across it. And the scores are either white, red, or green. So white if they're tied, green if they're up. So you don't even have to see the number. You just know. Then you go inside, and there's like a wall of flat screens that are all connected at the corner. It's almost like there's not even a gap where it's just like a thin black line. Yeah. And in front of that, if you wanted to eat there, you could. But they had like 12 recliners. And then behind the recliners is just high top tables where it's just a restaurant with just TVs and big screens along like a whole wall, just like bliss. I mean, I don't
Just
even
sit there, watch sports, and just gamble on them all day long.
literally,
Yeah.
you smash a plate of food, then go to the casino and just drink. You probably get a little party starter, just, get pre-gamed, head there, just sip on some beers, watch the games and all that stuff. Say you win big on your parlay, take it over to the poker table, run some blackjack, just have a whole day of it. Obviously, getting ahead of myself, very excited. I might have a problem, but this is the first weekend where it's going to be legal, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Who's home? LA or LA?
It's considered LA, but LA is actually home.
Yeah, but for real, who's home?
It is considered a home game for the Chargers.
The Chargers. Interesting. That is a fun game. That is a really fun game. Anything else on the Rams?
Yeah, they also play at Seattle after that.
They're beating them.
So we're looking at a floor of 11 wins.
Yeah.
I think 11-6 is probably worst case scenario if Matt Stafford gets hurt, or when we're talking about these teams, any quarterback that gets injured, preseason predictions are out the window. Clearly, that is too big. If Cooper Kupp got hurt, we still got to live with our predictions.
Yeah.
But if Matt Stafford goes down and Scodoobity Badoobity has to come in and play quarterback, it's tough.
Yeah. No, I try to stick with my predictions no matter what. I did make a last season change at the very last second. I moved off the Ravens because there was just too many injuries going into the season. I'm like, what? I'm backing off this pick. And I still was wrong. The Bengals ended up beating the Browns out for the division, but still, it was too much to overcome.
Something else that you might enjoy, just this is a little off topic, but the Bengals have announced that week 11 versus the Steelers, I believe it's a Sunday night game. That is when they're going to wear their all white Bengal jerseys.
Oh, that's so dope.
It's Sunday night against the Steelers, so all eyes will be on that game for sure.
Yes.
I wonder if the Steelers will wear their all black, color rush jerseys. So
that'd
it's
sweet.
Literally black versus white. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yes, with the yellow helmets.
It'd be fun.
I like the yellow helmets you guys wrote about. Those are sweet.
Love the yellow helmets. We should bring back the Bumblebee jerseys too. I know we feel different on that, but things are goated.
Not just me. Everyone feels different on that. I told somebody just the other day.
Steelers fans.
Steelers fans in massive denial since the 70s. My goodness.
Hey, no. Those jerseys are nice.
My TJ
Watt jersey's a Bumblebee jersey.
Oh, Andrew. I was just talking to Andrew Bradish, and I was like, Brett, because we were talking about terrible jerseys, like, oh, the Bumblebees. I'm like, shockingly, Brad loves that jersey. He goes, of course he does.
Hey, I'm just saying, they're nice, man. They're nice.
Oh, goodness. Well, I think I got one more question. Who's winning the NFC West? Sorry, not the AFC. Who's winning the NFC West?
San Francisco 49ers.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. I'm taking the Rams.
I think the Rams are a better team. I think even if I have them splitting in the regular season, if they met in the postseason, I may pick Rams. But based on the way the schedule lays out, the opponents that they're facing being third place division instead of a first place, I just
swing a game or two.
Right. So there is differences in that. We have yet to get there to our bold predictions episode, but there is a team that I believe could be fifth best team in the NFC, maybe, but is my prediction to be the number 1 seed in the NFC based off their schedule and their talent. So there's a lot of different things that go into it, but that's why I always like doing these in-depth breakdowns, and I like going to work with them like, hey, how many games do you think the Chiefs are going to win this year? I don't know, 12, 13. They're always good. All right, these were their quick additions. Here's the rest of their division's quick additions. Let's go through their schedule. And they're like, damn, Chiefs are winning 7 games this year. And I was like, got to look at these schedules, man. You got how they map out, where the away games are, how it falls early, late, where's the bye. A lot that goes into it. And I think the 49ers come out on top.
That's fair. I'm going to stick with the Rams. I just think they've added too many pieces, and we don't predict injuries, so I'm thinking Stafford's going to go, and if he's going to go, the Rams are the better team, in my opinion.
They are good.
And It's different from being the better team in the AFC South, where you're the best team, but maybe you're going to win 9 or 10 games. No. The Rams are the best team and could win the Super Bowl this year. So it's just like, I got to give them that extra bump. So taking the Rams. But that's all I got.
How does it shape up? I go 49ers, Rams, Cardinals, Seahawks.
Swap. Rams, Niners, Cardinals.
I didn't know if you had the Cardinals over the 49ers or not.
No, because I have them at 6-6 going into their bye, and I have I have them at 6-2 going into their bye, so they're not going to roll off 4 straight losses after that. So, no, I like the Niners a lot. Especially if Trey Lance is good. If he's average, I think they're a good team. If he's good, I think they're a great team, and if he's bad, I think they're an average team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
quarterbacks do tend to impact the record.
Yeah. So, I think that's all I got. Anything else?
Oh man, football is one step closer. We get a full slate of preseason games. Remember, even if you don't want the NFL pass, even though it's only $5 or $6 a month, test out that free trial and get your team's preseason game on your phone or something. Just catch a little bit. I know I'll probably have to get it because the Steelers are playing apparently all their starters every game because, well, at least at quarterback, because we don't really know who is going to be the starter.
I do want to say this because we said this a couple weeks ago. And we talked about this and we weren't clear. And I don't know if you've played around with it. I have. So I got the pass. Okay. The NFL pass. If you are trying to watch a preseason game that is on television,
it'll be blacked out.
It will be blacked out unless you put in your cable provider. So if you were trying to watch the Hall of Fame game without cable, you cannot. Now, if you have Peacock, you are good to watch it. Okay.
Hulu, probably.
Whoever, cable provider, that's Hulu. But Peacock is not a cable provider. They just offer NFC. So, So obviously, you either have to have cable, you have to have the provider of that channel, or you're not going to see a televised preseason game. But if your team's not being televised, there it is. It's on there, like the NFL pass. So, that's all I got.
Yeah, me too, man. NFC West, it's fun. It'll be a fun division.
Yeah. We have a week off. I'll be in Florida, right around Tampa. Maybe I'll go see my boy Tom Brady, pay him a visit, have a beer or two. Oh, no, it's football season. He don't drink beer. Never mind. But outside of that, if you haven't yet, go listen to all the AFC breakdowns. I think they're, if I'm being unbiased, I think they're all pretty good. The AFC West was a banger. It was almost 2.5 hours long. Doesn't feel like it. It's a great listen. Lots of great reviews on that one. And then check out, obviously, this NFC West pod. If you're listening to this point, you've already listened to it. But, NFL season around the corner. I think that's it.
I'm excited. I know you are too.
Oh, I'm beyond excited. All right, guys, we are out. Take care. We'll see you next time.
Real talk.